is to take this door, put hinges on it, put a door handle on it, and hang it in the 1820s barn where the stairs are leading upstairs. So basically the door, I probably didn't pay much for it, 10, 15 bucks. The hinges I had in stock. I can't remember how long ago I picked those up, but the bag had a number on it. The bag was sealed. I just opened it. It's got 3 brass looking hinges in it. The doorknob is the European style handle, which is pretty cool. I was going to put a glass doorknob on it that I took out of an antique door. But in order to do that, the way those were back then, I would have to come in here, and I don't have a router bit that would go deep enough to recess that down in there, but I would have loved to have had that glass door handle on there. Now, the key set, this is just a box. As you can see, I picked it up for 5 bucks. I would imagine it'd be considerably more at Home Depot, maybe 20, 25 if I had to take a guess. So there's substantial savings there. So with everything we got going here, hinges, almost nothing in those, $5 in the handle, the door handle, and $15 in the door. So let's see what we can do with all this scrap. I've started the layout for the hinges. You can see my pencil lines, and that is going to be routed out so that the hinge is recessed. So we got that one. We're going to put 3 hinges on it. That one, and this one is a little difficult to see. Now what I did is I took the router and I set the blade depth, and we're pretty well flush right there. So I'm going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to take that router, and I'm going to take this speed square, and I'm going to use it as a straight edge to get this perfectly straight and this perfectly straight. Okay, I've got these all routered out. I just wanted to show you how they came out. If you look at the lines, I mean, you can't even get a piece of paper in there. That's how precise and precision this is. Okay, I am going to next drill the holes and put the screws in. But first I want to talk about something else. My Habitat driver was here today with a delivery. And what I got is, you see these posts that look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 of them. They're approximately 3 by 3. They're made out of cedar. They are part of that swing set deal. I also got their broom handles is what they are, but they're 5 feet long, but they're really nice dowel rods. I'm not sure what I'm going to build with them yet, but I may go Amish on you and do some pegs, put stuff together, pegs, but I doubt that. I'll find a use for them. Oh, and this cedar chest. It's an antique. It was just thrown into the mix. He said I could have that. And I did get some more shelving units, but they are out there in that building. All right, so let me drill some holes. I got them center punched, drilled, and I put the screws in there. Now again, the screws are part of that swing set stuff that I got very little money in. This is the center hinge. This is the drill bit I used. I used this finish nail to center punch. Obviously used a hammer with the center nail. And then I used this bit, square drive, which was also part of that Habitat swing set stuff. So there we go. We got the 3 hinges on there. I'm going to put this up on the workbench and see if I can't get the door handle started. Okay, so now we're going to start the process of drilling the holes to get this in here. So what I did is I laid this out. Let me see. I don't know if you can see down in that hole. Probably not. I'm going to put my flashlight on it for you. I believe this may be coming out, but you can see the hole I drilled lines up perfectly with this, and then I'll drill in from this direction with a bit, and then actually this tool here, I went through all my hole saws and I really didn't have one that would drill the size hole I needed, but this adjustable one made by Craftsman, I imagine that's been around for a lot of years, but that's a tool that came in some of that stuff I dragged home from Habitat, and I believe it's going to work just fine. I drilled me a couple pilot holes to test it out. The first one was too large. This one here is going to work just fine, and that's what I've got it set on right now. So I'm going to go ahead, take this, drill this out, then I'm going to center this, and I'm going to drill in this way so that this has somewhere to go. And then once we get to that point, I'll take the router and router out for this base. Okay, I got the large hole drilled right there, and I've got the small hole drilled, and I took the router and I routed out for the plate. That turned out pretty good. Now if you look at this hole, I made it so precise that I actually had to take a file on the right and left side here and open it up a little bit with a square file so that the base, it turned out, I measured this round part, and this base is just ever so slightly larger. But I've got it taken care of, and now it fits down in there just fine. So let me get some screws in it, and then we'll assess getting it hung. All right, the handle is installed. That guy's installed. I'm going to call him the plunger because I'm not sure what the heck it is. And then the other handle underneath. Now what I'm working on now is this 2x6. It's pressure treated. It was basically salvaged lumber. It looked pretty good on camera because I ran it through the planer and the edger. And then I got everything flush, and I drew my lines for the hinges, and then I'm going to take the router and router that down and countersink the hinge. So that's my next step. But before we do that, I'll show you the tools I used. That's the planer. I ran a 2x6 through the planer, and then I cleaned up one of the edges. The other edge had a big knot in it, and I didn't want to risk kickback and other stuff trying to cut through a knot. So there's the edger, there's the planer. That's how I got the board where it is currently. I've got those hinge areas routed out. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it over there, back over there where the door is. And I'm going to mark the holes, drill them, and put the screws in. And then the board will be attached to the door. Now, one thing I did with that board, I left it up about 1/4 of an inch. And that's so there wouldn't be any interference when it opens and closes. Okay, so I got the hinges in place. And what I did is I drew these circles. And then I'll put my center punch and nose. You can see the circles. You can also see where I'll explain how this happens. The router base will not cover the entire area. So there's a point where you're almost freehanding it. And then we got this last one. All right, so I'll take a few minutes and get some screws in these hinges and center punch. All right, I got the hinges all mounted. Everything's pretty well flush. I mean, not exactly perfect, but pretty daggone good. So this is not the conventional way to hang a door. Most doors obviously come pre-hung. This one did not. And I just like doing it custom. I do it my way. Now what I did down here is I sawed off 3/4 of an inch of the bottom of the door. And the reason for that is it gives me roughly that one fingernail worth of distance so the bottom of the door is not going to rub. And then we did the same thing at the top. I talked about this a minute ago. But I left myself, probably 3/8 or so of an inch here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out and put this in its location and screw it to the building. Of course, plumb and level everything. and then I can build the rest of the door casing around that. All right, I got the door out into the other building, and I've pretty much have it hung. I still got to put some door stoppers on it and some different things like that. Now, this is the board I talked about earlier that I planed down. What I ended up doing was pulling a measurement from here to here, and that gave me the distance I needed for the opening minus the gap. And I cut this board down, probably about not quite a half inch. Now, it's pretty dark in here, but we're going to try this. I put this 2x4, well, it's actually Amish wood, so it's probably 2x4, but it could be 3.5. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And what that did was allow me to get this secured to this. Now this is tied in here. It's tied in down at the bottom. It doesn't do any good to tie it in here because there's nothing behind this 1/4 inch of hardwood. So what I did, just to make sure that other board was going to be strong enough, I put 2 screws going in at an angle into that 2x12 above us, but you're not seeing the whole 2x12, so don't get alarmed. And then down here, I put 2 5-inch. The other ones were 3-inch. I put 2 5-inchers in here because there's a lot more meat underneath. So this board is secured, and it's likewise secured to a board that's secured to the building. So I think we're going to be good there. Now the overall gap is pretty decent. And what I did is I used, if I can find them here, these wedges to get my gap right. I had to drive a couple wedges down here, which moved the bottom over ever so slightly. And then I was able to look at my gap, get it where I wanted it. Now I'm going to be honest with you, right about in here, it's a little bit wider. Now the reason for that is this board here is bowed in slightly, but I don't consider that a big issue at this point. And remember, this is the door that leads to the upstairs of the old barn. Okay, so we got the striker plate installed. Now, I did not use the router and countersink that any at all, and the reason I didn't do that is because that gap's a little wider and I'd like to see it in the first place. So we do have just a little bit of a lip here, but I don't think that's an issue in a barn. And then, of course, I drilled a hole. I did some layout. You might be able to see my pencil lines. But it turned out really well. I'll just lightly shut the door. So, it's working pretty good. When it opens up, it can go all the way up against the wall like that, which is nice. And then I put this stopper molding on right here. And so this is basically a custom-made door. Now, I didn't make the door, a custom-made hanging of the door. Now, up there, I don't know if I'll do it in this video or not, but I will eventually put a header up there and continue on with this wood across there to give that aesthetically a better look. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope maybe you picked up a little trick or two from me. I don't claim to be an expert, by no means, but I am a perfectionist. So if I do it, it's going to be done right. I want to thank you for watching my videos. If you're not subscribed and you like my content, please subscribe and hit that like button if you like that video. Thank you.